Welcome everyone to the 2025 Lancaster Archery Classic here in Manheim, Pennsylvania at the Spooky Nook Sports Complex. And this tournament is getting ready to get underway as we have our first shoot-up match of the tournament. And welcome to an outstanding day of archery. It might be cold outside, but it is perfect weather inside of the Spooky Nook Sports Complex. I'm Greg White, sitting next to me, Dan Yazza, two-time USA Archery National Field Champion. Dan, welcome. And how's the weekend been so far?
It's been pretty good. It's a little bit of a not great sitting here because it means I'm not getting ready to shoot tomorrow, but it's a good consolation prize because be able to sit here with you and commentate on some of these matches today. Yeah,
it can be a little bit weird sometimes when archers get knocked out and I see an opportunity to talk to a guy who's as knowledgeable as Dan. I'm like, hey, listen, sorry about you just got knocked out, but you want to come in the booth and hang out with us? But look, we got a lot of archery on deck today, and this is a really fantastic venue and a shoot to come to. A record attendance this season for 2025 in the 21st year of the Lancaster Archery Classic, and the shoot-up format is unique. But before we get into all of that, why don't we take a look at what we have in terms of, we have 4 shooters that have qualified to shoot up. So the top 4 have qualified for this particular class. Now ranks are broken by 11s. We're going to talk about that. It's a bottom-up format. That means that the number 4 qualified shooter is going to shoot up against number 3, and whoever wins that match gets to go face against number 2, and whoever wins that match gets the number 1 qualified shooter. But Dan, let's talk a little bit about scoring and how we score this. Now the target is 18 meters downrange. Tell us about it.
Yep, so we've got, looks like a typical Vegas target, but you've got a little white dot underneath. So it's going to score X as 11, 10 for the regular 10 ring, all the way down to 6 out in the blue. But you also have the little white ring down in the bottom in between the 7 and 8 ring, where 1 time per end, the shooter can call that shot and shoot at that to get an extra point. But it's kind of difficult if you want to shoot at that, because if you miss, then you're going to be down at either a 7 or an 8 if you just miss off that. So it's kind of a risk-reward target. If you get behind, it gives you a little bit of a chance to catch up.
All right, so that's the big deal, the risk-reward factor, and we saw the game being changed. I believe it's the 3rd season that ring's been available, and last year we saw pros come out and they started to change the game on the strategy. So we'll see if that's bled to these amateur classes that we have coming up. But now it's time to bring the archers to the field of play, and let's welcome Rob Koffel's going to introduce our archers.
Ladies and gentlemen, our first division is the Senior Open Division. These guys have been at it for a long time. Our 4th seed is Chris Robinson from Bristol, Indiana. Senior Outdoor Target National Champion. He's been shooting for 30 years. Come on down. All right, welcome. Welcome. Our 3rd place seed is Kent Stegall from Midlothian, Virginia. He's been shooting here for years. He's 2016 Classic Champion. He's been in the shoot-up 3 times. Longtime supporter of the Classic. Welcome, Kent. Come on down. Shoot him up.
All right, so those 2 archers, Old Kent and Chris, take to the stage, coming off their qualifying and elimination matches. Now, Dan Yazza, this is a very interesting situation. If you are watching the Lancaster Archery Classic, and this is, years that you've been watching, there is a little bit of a pressure, a little change to the stage where the archers are sitting on, or standing on. So basically, if you want to call the 12 ring that you mentioned, now you actually, instead of hitting like a button on the floor and hit it with your feet, you can actually touch a button that's on a stand behind these archers. But with what we saw last year in the pro category, how do you think that this is going to pan out with these elder statesmen here of this amateur class?
I don't know. I mean, these guys, I'm sure they've been back there practicing. They've got some lighting conditions back there at the practice range. They're going to be fairly close to what they're shooting in now. But I would probably want to shoot one down there just to double check and make sure your right and lefts are good before I felt like pushing that button to shoot to the 12.
All right, so keep in mind, as Dan mentioned, if you are used to your normal target, Vegas target face, normally the X ring counts as the same points as the inner ring 10. But in this particular venue, in this particular shoot, that innermost ring is worth 11 points. That ring down at the bottom there, in the middle of the red, worth 12 points, but you got to call it. Can't be an accident.
9.
Yep, so Kent gave a couple points back there to Chris and see if he can nail an 11 here to get back to even with him.
18 meters, a good look at what the archers are looking at. They're on an elevated platform. There's already a crowd forming here. It's a different stage, especially when you have a huge monitor that's just above you and you can see exactly what your target looks like.
Yeah, and I'm sure these guys, we usually don't shoot under spotlights like this, so I remember the first time I made the stage and you got the lights on you, it's like, oh, where am I looking? What am I, something doesn't quite look right, so it takes a little bit of time to get really comfortable and trust that your pin's going to hit the same spot as it did back in the practice range.
All right, so even though that 12 is available, we haven't seen any of these archers. You can see that little stand behind him is where that red button is at.
9.
Yeah, so Chris led off with 3-9, so I have a feeling the next end there's going to be a 12 button pushed here, so he's got some catching up to do, and looks like Kent has kind of got himself dialed in here.
Let's listen to Rob Koffold. He's down there.
Looking good, bud.
Glad to be here.
Thank you. Let's give these guys a hand. Thank you.
Another unique thing about the Lancaster Archery Classic has been this talking to the archers between ends situation. And when it happened to you, what did you think?
I mean, it's fun. I mean, you get up here, you prepare, and this is the kind of pressure that you want to have. I mean, a lot of guys come in here and nervous, and you're not really knowing what to do, and come up and start talking to you. It's like, this is the pressure that you've been training for. This is the stuff that you want to have happen to you.
The other thing that's also cool about coming to this tournament is that the staff at Lancaster Archery Supply do an outstanding job of merch and when we show up, what is going to be the look of this year. And we can see that the hat that I'm wearing and the shirt that one of our shooters has on is the branding for the 2025 Lancaster Archery Classic. And so that's one of those things that you wear out in public, and you never know. You're at an airport somewhere and somebody's like, oh, I was there.
Yeah. Or I saw you on YouTube.
Yeah. Over 2,100 people converged for this tournament this year. That's not even including the collegiate athletes that have shown up and started shooting there.
Good 11 for Kent there.
Mm-hmm. He definitely didn't like that shot.
Chris, he seems to be shooting a little bit high on everything here. I didn't see if he took any clicks on his side or making any mental adjustments when he's aiming, but he's hitting high on about everything.
11.
Kent's got another 11, so he's getting a pretty good lead here. So Chris is going to have to start pushing that 12 button here before too long.
And this is cumulative scoring, and it's the same way for recurve archery as well, when we get to see some of that later on today.
9.
And don't forget, folks, later on, as we roll into the evening hours here in Manheim, Pennsylvania, bear bow, our final shoot. So you have women's bear bow followed by bear bow, and that is always massively entertaining.
9.
9 for Kent. I did see Chris take a few clicks on his side, so see if his adjustments worked here.
There
we go.
Yeah, you can just tell, too, on that release and that hold, the confidence of that. All right, let's get down to Rob Koffold.
Chris, looks like you're starting to feel better up.
A little bit better, a little bit. Marginally.
That's great. It's great. You're looking good, man. Kent, you doing good?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. I'm standing up. I'm happy.
Congratulations to both of you guys. You guys survived this morning's matches. It was really tough to get through. A lot of top shooters did not make it. We had a lot of surprises this morning. Good shooting, guys. Just let the nerves settle on down. Get in the groove.
And a little recap, and that was that 10 that went a little high. You can see Chris was like, oh boy, we've all had those shots.
Yeah,
But-
so seems like you got dialed in there that last shot. See if you can carry that into this next end here. It's like Kent looks fairly solid. He's been up on the stage a few times, so that's probably helping him a little bit. And say, just getting your trust and confidence for Chris to know that your pin's going to hit the same here as it is back in the practice range.
All right, 62 to 57 as we roll into our next end. They're just working on getting those arrows out of the target. Let's talk real quick about the format of this tournament, which everybody should really attend this tournament. We have people here from all over the world that have descended on Manheim, Pennsylvania, but it begins, at least this year, it started at noon on Thursday with your first 60 arrow qualifier. So everybody shoots a 60 arrow qualifier, and we have different line times. So we had 2 line times on Thursday and 3 on Friday, I believe.
Yes.
And so then everybody gets ranked based on your score. And also, when you actually score here, it's kind of unique. You need to score in the order of which you shot. So you have to mark your target. This is the first target I shoot, 1, then 2, then 3, and you mark down your score. So it's like if we were tied, Dan, you and I were tied on score, but I missed, say, my 7th X, and you missed your 11th X. That means that you're going to be the higher ranked archer. Yeah, so they keep track here. So it's 660 points total. And we had a couple shooters, 3 shooters in the pro category who cleaned it, which is extremely difficult. That means that they shot 60 X's in a row for a 660. They had an unbelievable shoot off. If you haven't seen that, it's available right here on Lancaster Archery Supply's YouTube channel. And you can go check that out from last night. They had a $20,000 perfect score shoot off, and it was entertaining.
Yeah, that was really fun to watch. One of the other great things about this tournament is every arrow you shoot during your qualifying and your matches count towards your seeding in the final match or the final shoot up. So if you shoot great and you end up getting seeded first, the worst you can finish is second. So it actually makes every single arrow you shoot during the weekend count.
Kent with an inside out X, counting as 11 points. I don't see anybody hit that button yet, going for those 12s.
I'm surprised Chris hasn't pushed that button yet.
I'm not sure. It kind of feels like Chris, I don't think, has the confidence right now in his shot with the nerves to get down there. It's something that do you get this target from Lancaster Archery Supply and practice and set up your bow specifically if you're in this situation?
Yeah, so there's you can't get this target from Lancaster Archery Supply. You can buy it right on their website, and there's a lot of guys that if they like aiming at the yellow, they'll figure out how many clicks it takes to hit that little white dot down below, and they'll click their sight back. I like aiming at it. So yeah, I'd spend some time actually practicing shooting at that little dot because your pin pretty much covers it up, but you have to trust that it's going to be there when you shoot it.
Well, what you'll see throughout this tournament is that different archers prefer different ways to look. Ooh. I don't know if that was a surprise shot, as we talk about in archery, or if Kent was giving it a little bit of English to get it in that.
Yeah. But yeah, you'll see that sometimes where you're trying to get the dot back in the very middle, and the shot breaks, and kind of your reflexes take over and push that dot right over in the middle, and hopefully your arrow hits there.
All right, let's get to Rob Koffel.
Yeah, that looks like some great shooting.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm getting lucky. It's, it has to land somewhere, right?
Blind squirrel finds an acorn, right?
It's got to hit somewhere.
There we go. Good shooting. Nerves settling down a little, Chris?
Yeah, it feels pretty good up here, actually. I mean, I'm happy to be here. Make no mistake.
Certainly did a great job getting through. Congratulations. It's quite an accomplishment getting up here on stage. Good shooting.
Yeah, you can see that arrow there for Chris. It looks like that's going to score an 11.
Why? Tell us why that happens.
So on this target, the arrow only has to barely touch the line for it to count for the next higher value. So you don't have to be completely inside out or break the line or anything. It just has to touch the next highest value to score that point. So that's why you'll see most of the guys are shooting either 23 diameter or 27 diameter, which is the max allowed in this tournament. Just so if you're a little close, you got a little bit better chance of catching that line with the bigger arrow.
All right, and if you're wondering about the target itself, the American targets, these particular targets have a replaceable core in the middle, and they are woven pretty tight. So sometimes when they're new, you just have a little bit of arrow lube that you can put on your arrow. A lot of shooters keep it in their quiver, or in your case, on your bow occasionally, and that'll help those arrows to get, pulled out of the bail, especially these particular targets, because these haven't been shot for the last couple of days. You know, these are really fresh targets.
Yeah, getting these American whitetails that are brand new can be a pain sometimes to pull out of, but they last a really long time because of that. So that one looks like it's just a little bit wide. So Kent's got a 10-point lead going into this last in, so he should feel fairly comfortable, just be able to maybe work on a few things. Maybe if he's pulling a little bit harder or coming off the wall a little bit, trying a couple things to see if maybe he can get that pin to settle down a little bit. Since he's got such a big lead, he can use that for his next match.
Yeah, at this point, I think if I was this far back, I'd be hitting the button just to take the risk of trying to get an extra point here or there. Even if I wasn't feeling confident in my shot, just to put on a little bit of a show for the fans.
Yep.
Because this is the shoot-up format, so if Kent wins this, as he's continuing to roll on through this match, then he's going to be putting himself in a position to stay on stage and then shoot against the #2 qualifier in this senior open category.
Yeah, if it would have been me, even for Kent, I probably would have hit the 12 in that last one just to shoot at it once to see what my bow does.
That's
or
a good idea.
see what my dot does with a 10+ point lead. Like you can give up a few to try something. And
let's go to Rob.
Usually holds really well. A little tougher today, but the Shibuya sidebar, true scope, and probably the secret for me is this 20-year-old Cascade release. They don't make them like that anymore. That's right, Sergio Paglia.
And what string and knocks?
These are first strings, and these are gold tips. Love these arrows. They get stuck in these bales, though.
Yeah, we've seen that. Thank you. And Ken, your setup, I see you're shooting an elite bow.
Yeah, I'm shooting elite Kairos. I'm shooting about 56 pounds. Bowfinger scope and the XL Achieve Pro sight with the bee stingers, bars. Got bowfinger weights on the front, Hamsky rest, and a Hamsky peak.
And what string and knocks?
Oh, my string is the gas strings. I think they're the best in the business. And I'm running the Victory 27 arrows with the AAE Knox.
IP knocks.
IP, yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much. Let's give these guys a hand. Nice shooting. The payout for 4th place for Chris is $500. Let's give Chris a big hand. Good shooting, Chris.
All right, so Chris has gone out of this tournament. Now we await your second place shooter. Here's Rob.
Seed is Clint Palm from Duncannon, Pennsylvania. Clint, come on down. Clint's from the Harrisburg area, right near us, not far from Lancaster. Come on down, Clint. Clint and I have known each other a long time.
Yeah, probably 40 years. Yeah, maybe longer. We're the same age.
Congratulations, Clint. Welcome, Clint, to the stage.
All right, Greg White, Dan Yaza here as we get into our second match of our shoot-up senior open category at the 21st Lancaster Archery Classic here in Spooky Nook Sports Complex. Dan, what I thought was very interesting, #2 qualifier comes out. Clint Palm, he does not move Kent off of his spot. Is that something that you would have done?
Yeah, I mean, you get comfortable in a spot, you want to get somebody off their game a little bit. Just the little bit of change in lighting in here can maybe just make you question things a little bit and make you a little bit uncomfortable. So yeah, I mean, that's another cool thing with this format is as the higher archer comes in, they get to pick which side they want to shoot on, so they can again push someone off the stage who got really comfortable on the end before and make them feel a little bit more uncomfortable coming in.
All right, 18 meters from where these archers are standing to their target face. The innermost ring worth 11 points, and then goes 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. There's a little 1.5 millimeter dot down at the bottom worth 12 points.
Kent got that 11.
Sure did. Good start.
Put a little pressure on Clint starting off here.
Now, as we look at Clint, he's not coming in here completely cold, is he? There's an area for these shooters to warm up.
And a little low arrow for Clint there. Yeah, it's the practice area. They try to simulate the lighting fairly close to what they're going to see when they come out here to make you kind of get used to it. But there's nothing like being out here on the stage and having the lights on you. You can't replicate it.
10.
Kent catching that left side there, the 10.
Mm-hmm. And if you do get to look at these two archers, nice shot.
There's a great shot for Clint there.
Got the crowd going bonkers with their little, I don't know what those things, air sticks. What do you call those things?
Little clappers.
Little air clappers.
11.
Okay.
32.
Kent's got some good Bo Kwon-Do going on this run.
He does. Yeah. Hope he doesn't pull anything. But if you're wondering, you're looking at archery for the first time, and you know these archers have companies that they partner with as sponsors. And you see that Kent's been running that victory shirt. But here's Rob Koffel to talk to us more about it, I'm sure.
Let's give him a hand. Clint, tell us a little bit about your setup.
Hoyt Stratus 40 HBT cams, Freak Show rest, black gold sight, dead center bars and mounts, Easton 2712s, and Stan jet black release.
What string knob?
Factory fused strings, Knox or biter.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Clint. Good shooting to both of you guys. Are we having fun? All right. It's the way Lancaster Archery shows you an archery party.
All right, we'll go through that first in here and see some of the arrows that Clint and Kent. I'm going to end up screwing that up one of these times. Clint and Kent are so close to one another.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're end up tied 32 here after the first in, so we'll see if someone's going to put some pressure on one of the other guys and throw down a 12 here.
A couple more ends to go. Cumulative scoring. So every arrow makes a difference in this tournament period. So whether it's compound or recurve.
11.
Shot from Kent there.
If you're watching compound archery for the first time, you can see that in his hand is the release aid, and there's a couple of different ways to do it. So what release did he say he was shooting, Clint?
He was shooting a stand back tension release, so it's a hinge release, so it fires off a rotation, and you can do that multitude of ways, whether increasing tension, relaxing the index finger, or making a fist to try to get the rotation of that release. So it's more of a surprise shot than it would be a command shot.
I don't know how these guys hold that bow that steady to keep it on target. Some of us don't at my age.
10.
He just gave up a point there to Clint. So we got a 1-point match right now.
So Ken, looks like Ken's shooting a thumb button
Yep,
release.
looks like he's got a stand thumb button in his hand.
10.
So if Clint can hit this 11 here, he's going to have a 2-point lead going into the third end. Clint looks very, very steady here. Oh.
Whoa. That one got away from him for sure.
Yep. So that looks like it's going to be putting us into, actually I think Kent's going to have a 1-point lead going into the third end, because I've got that listed as a 9.
All right, we'll see.
It's a wonderful thing,
Let's get down to Rob
Shooting
Koffel.
well. Shooting well. Keep it up.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Feeling good, Clint?
A little nervous.
We put this show on for guys like you, man.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, Dan, you're able to definitely shoot through the nerves, especially if you have that adrenaline and you're shaking. Like anybody who hunts is going to know that feeling, but you can simulate that up here when you're in front of all these people. It's like when you hit that shot, you're like, yeah. But when you don't and you shoot a high left 8 or 9 liner, it's like, oh no, in front of this whole crowd. All right, so the box they're standing on, you can see that, they have a little post there, and it's got that button, that red button on top. That'll illuminate underneath the box they're sitting on. That's new for this year. And then there's also behind the archers and behind the stand where we have the shooters. Yeah, that was uncharacteristically high one, is like a box that says 12 on it. So if anybody calls it, we'll see it. So Kent just gave a couple of points back. Actually,
just one.
Yeah, just one. So now we're tied up again.
So when something like that happens, you just got to calm yourself down and get back to your process and make sure you're doing everything you do normally in practice at home. And there you go. It's a good answer for Kent after that first arrow there. Clint at full draw. I see him wobbling just a little bit there. You can see that stabilizer kind of wagging back and forth a little bit. Didn't really look like he liked it, but it landed well. Kent's got a 1 point lead. Oh, tied score now.
Yeah, I wasn't thrilled with that shot, but the other thing too is I think the advantage of the archers that are higher seed is that if you have the nerves and it doesn't go away, it can wear you out even in, you know, as few arrows as you are shooting.
Yeah, it's definitely mentally draining if you can't get the nerve stuff past you. So, like Kent's going to have a 1 point lead going in this last in here if all the scores stand the way they were called.
Let's see what Rob Koffeld has to say about this situation.
It doesn't get easier, does it?
Clint, how are the nerves, buddy?
How's the what?
How are the nerves?
Pretty bad.
Dan, you've been in these positions
archery
before.
happens to
Actually, we'll
everybody.
stay with Rob here.
The older I get, the harder it gets. And it was never easy, never easy.
You guys are putting on a good show. Appreciate it. Don't forget the 12 button right here. We made it super convenient.
There you go.
You don't even have to use your foot this year. In fact, it'd be pretty hard to get your foot the whole way up there.
Oh, now that he said that, someone's going to try it. Why do I have a feeling somebody's going to try it? The way the button's kind of recessed there, it'd be really difficult to hit it, but I like how Rob's trying to sell it. Let's go. So see if someone's going to jump on that 12 button.
So right now, Kent's got a 2 point lead, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Clint right off the rip hit that 12 button, see if he can't get a couple of those points back, because if Kent cleans through here, there's no way that Clint can catch him. But if he puts a little pressure on him, get a point or two back, maybe it'll force Kent into a mistake.
11.
There you go. That's a strong way to start there.
Yeah. I just think Kent's Mr. Bo Kwando.
There you go. Okay. Clint's going to have to hit that button here this next arrow or two if he wants to have a chance at it. All right, so it's still got a 3 point lead, give or take, after this arrow here. See what Clint hits.
It's a pretty impressive 10 because what you see from there was kind of that normal up and down movement that you would see with an archer of this age, but then after that long hold, you start to see that side to side.
Yep.
10.
Yep, surprising Clint didn't hit the 12 just to go for it for the heck of it. You can start to see that bar wagging a little bit back and forth there.
They're already guaranteed third place at this point of the tournament, so.
Yep, well, that's going to give Kent the second win of the shoot-up finals. Kent gets to move on and have even more nerves for first place now.
He certainly does. So Kent, your number 3 seed, is able to shoot his way up to at least a guaranteed second place. There's a big sigh of relief. He's just like, oh boy.
Big old breath there for him.
And the funniest thing is that he just saw himself on the big screen down by the targets, giving the big sigh, and just started laughing at himself.
Kent's a great guy. I've known Kent for a long time, and really happy to see him up here shooting. I've known Clint for a long time too, and Chris even before.
Spring, Pennsylvania, 2020 Classic champion. He's been here at the Classic twice. Come on down, Dan. Here he comes. Let's hear it for Dan, Bannerline. Welcome, Dan.
There you go. And you see Dan kick Ken over to the right side of the stage there.
Ken, tell me this is a rematch from 2016. Come on now, Ken. Ken won that one, 2016. It's a rematch.
Oh, rematch, 2016 rematch between Kent and Dan.
Here we go.
See if Dan can get a little redemption here.
The 8-year-old grudge match. Wait a second. If these guys have been shooting Senior Open this long, and their match was 8 years ago, I'm just saying. Yeah, Dan's been shooting 30 years. He's obviously won this, finished second before, but he also came from the bow hunter category. And of course, this is an open category, so it's Senior Open. And what defines the difference between like open compound and bow hunter compound?
So open setup, as you can see, Kent, with the really long stabilizers, there's no limit in how long you can have your stabilizer, how much weight you put on it. And then the sights have micro adjust capabilities, windage and elevation, and you can also put a lens in it with a magnifying glass. So you really bring that target in close to you, can kind of see what you're wanting to look at.
So after Kent's first arrow, he kind of looked pretty disappointed, but for Dan, he gave him that 9. So they're toe-to-toe after the first arrow. And of course, this is for the win. This should be 2025 Lancaster Archery Classic Senior Open Champion.
Characteristic for Kent to run 2-9 right back to back there.
Maybe the light's just a little bit off.
It's
just different, not off, but different.
Well, we're keeping it toe-to-toe here, so got a tight score after 2 arrows apiece.
Long shot. Now keep in mind, there is a 30-second shot clock, something we haven't mentioned so far in this match. And so once the arrow impacts, then the shot clock begins for the next archer.
It looks like that second arrow for Dan, they listed as an 8. I thought that caught a 9, but we'll see what the judges say after they look at it here.
Let's get to Rob.
With an older Sherlock sight. Do you like the bow hunter setup?
I've shot bow hunter for years, so there's no use changing now.
I noticed Dan's on the champions banner on the left. So you've won this before. Nice shooting. Way to go. Way to get through it.
Well, I'm sorry, Will.
How you feeling up there?
Oh, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm just rushing my shots a little bit. So we'll see what happens.
Take your time. Let it work itself out. Nice shooting, gentlemen. Let's give them a hand.
So yeah, so significantly different setups in terms of their bows. But Dan, we have definitely seen the gap close in the bow hunter category to the open category in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, the bows the manufacturers are putting out right now are so good. I mean, if you are a good enough shot, you can take a modern day hunting bow and come in here and compete in these classes too. I mean, that's actually a hunting bow that Elite sells.
And there's a look from the 2020 banner that are hanging up, draping this awesome facility here at Spooky Nook Sports Complex in our Champions Hall.
See, it looks like in that picture, Dan was shooting a hinge release, and now he's shooting an index finger release. Oh. So not only is he shooting the short stabilizer, no back bar, he's shooting an index finger on this. It looks like with a little 12-inch stabilizer, and I'm assuming he has magnification in his old Sherlock there.
I'm not sure he does. I think it's just a pin. Is it even a scope on there? Because I've seen him shoot before. Yeah, grab those binos of yours and take a look. I think he's running just the pin.
Yeah, I don't even see a scope on his on his sight there. So he might just be running the straight pin. So it's really is a true hunting setup.
True hunting setup.
Throws down 2 11s in a row there, so looks like he's getting that thing dialed in.
It works for you, and that's the thing about archery. And I've said it a million times. This is one of the most individualistic sports you've ever seen. What works for you doesn't necessarily work for me, but it's about gathering information, having access to pros like yourself, and being able to come to events like this and talk about the things you have going on. And you can grab a lot of knowledge when you come to these events to make yourself a better shooter.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason companies like Stan and True Ball and those guys make all different kinds of releases, because people need something different than the guy that's right down the street from them that's shooting the same bow.
Here's Rob Koffelt.
You shoot it 3 times, right?
Once per end. Once per end.
I'm gonna give it a go for it too. We'll see. I'll hit it.
I saw you hit it in practice.
So
Got it going on, Dan. Good shooting.
All right, so one of the things that I want to talk about, because you just mentioned releases, there are a couple things in archery that people tend to be junkies with, and release aids are one of them. You have your 3 types of release. So you're talking about the wrist strap release, you talk about the thumb button and the back tension, and there's a 4th, there's a tension release where you literally just pull and then it's a surprise it go off. But the one thing that I've noticed, Dan Yazza, is that I've run into very few compound archers that have just one or two releases. Why do people get addicted to release aids like that?
well, you can have 2 or 3 of the exact same releases and have them set a little bit different, so whenever you're out shooting, you don't actually know exactly which one you're picking up, so you have to use good form, good technique, make sure you're not trying to command the shot and make it a surprise release.
All right, so with that 9 points.
I'd say Kent was a couple down going into this end. 9, give one back here, see if Dan can capitalize and put one in the middle here. Still got a point on him there, so he's going to be 3 up going into the second arrow. Low 10 there for Kent. You can see him kind of readjust his face when he got in, like he didn't look like he was comfortable on what he was seeing through his peep sight, so he kind of readjusted his face a little bit. So maybe something, again with the lights, he's still not quite adjusted to it yet. And then Dan goes and hits an 11 there to give him another point on that arrow. Kent just hit the button.
All right, so I think that's the first button of the day for us. So a 12 is called. He's going for that 1.5 millimeter dot. Sitting in the middle of the red.
Oh.
And that's the risk.
Yep. So you've got a chance at 12, but if you run a little low, you're gonna drop 4 points from your maximum value shooting at the very middle.
11.
I like the risk though that Kent. This is for the win. Here's Rob Koffelt.
Yep.
Way to go, buddy. He said he used them all up. Nice shooting, guys. Congratulations.
Yeah, so that 12 ring is actually a little bit smaller than the X ring, so even if you can consistently hit the X ring on the regular target, that little white dot's a little bit smaller than that. So, I mean, that's a tiny little dime. I mean, you're looking at the 11 rings about the size of a dime, and the 12 rings just a little bit smaller than that. So you just saw the light turn off there, so whenever the archer pushes that, the bottom of the stage lights up, and there's also a 12 sign that lights up back behind the audience that you can't see. So everyone knows when you're going for the 12, you either hit a 12 or the maximum value you can get after that's a 10. All right, last in here. Kent's down by 8. He's going to push the 12 button again just to go for it, I'm sure.
Why not? Not this time, though.
You can see the shot clock there. So 30 seconds is actually a lot of time to get one shot off. Most World Archery events are 20 seconds between arrows. So you can let down with a 30-second shot clock. If things are going south pretty quick, you can let down, reset, and still get drawn back and have plenty of time to get an arrow off.
I was actually in Switzerland at the end of 2024 in November shooting the first round of World Archery's indoor. And because of that shot clock, it caught a lot of people out on the first end. That it was only 20 seconds. And even people in Europe, they were like, whoa, I forgot, because most of the time people will shoot at their club level or these local tournaments with that 30-second clock. All right, so Kent trying to claw his way back into it. It's now a 2-point deficit, maybe, depending on
It'll be a
3-point.
So it's going to be a 14-point deficit now. So, or no, sorry, 8-point deficit. Math is hard sometimes.
Math is hard.
I'll light that 12 up, see if we can't hit one here and get the crowd excited about it. There you
Nailed
go,
it, all
Kent.
right. And then the crowd responds.
Going out in a blaze of glory. At least
There you go.
you hit the big one at the end there.
Second place.
Oh.
Excuse me, 10.
Rob got a little excited there.
Rob got a little excited. Jumped the gun while still at full draw. But Dan was able to hold on to it and get her done for the big win.
Second win at the Classic here.
Yeah.
And he gets redemption after the 2016 match when Kent beat him. So great to see both those guys out there shooting well and having fun. And
let's get to Rob Koffold.
First place is $3,000 for Dan Gatterdine. Next division. Our next division will be Women's Open Division.
All right, we're going to take a commercial break.
All right.
And we'll be back with Women's Open.
All right, a little bit of recap on what happened here in the finals. A shoot up for our first class of the day. First class of the tournament for the 21st Lancaster Archery Classic, the 2025 edition from the Spooky Nook Sports Complex. And what a match it was. And we had our first 12 called. It was called twice, and we had our first 12 hit. We got a lot more of that coming up from the Spooky Nook Sports Complex here in Manheim, Pennsylvania.